Greg Bennett is still in this group. And, you know, you could debate about this all day long, but if you watched Hy-Vee last year and Greg Bennett going up and mostly down those hills, that guy is the best hill runner in our sport.
Right.
Compared with Craig Alexander, you could fight those two night and day. And I know athletes, Greg Welch, who I'm filling in for at the moment, said that he could never train hills with Bennett because he'd just crush him on the downhill. And that's an athlete that has the ability to beat Craig Alexander. And look at this pace. That is Sebastian Kienle. Unbelievable the pace that a fast cyclist who is obviously attacking has gone by. And what will crush these other athletes is they know, and they've seen in the out and back, that Kienle was behind. And they know that he's going to be at least 3 minutes back at the end of that swim, which he was just at 3 minutes, a little bit less to those main contenders. To see him go by, they know that he's worked him on the bike, but little secret, and if Chris was here, he'd tell you that you take probably 30 seconds as you're coming up to that group to loosen up, to get your last bit of water, so that when you go by hard. And
that's an obvious mental advantage.
Yeah, and we don't often see passes like that.
Yeah. That was definitive move. I mean, that's putting the smack down, no matter who you are.
Because the last thing, what he's thinking is, for the last 26, 30 miles, I've been working my butt off, and I've rode 3 minutes into these guys.
Right.
They've all been working together, and some are working less than others. The last thing in the world I want is for them to latch onto me and take my cycling strength that just gained time on them to give them advantage of the athletes behind. So it's a solo mission, and Kienle is proving a lot of people wrong. At this point, an hour and 45 minutes into this race, to be off the front is pretty remarkable. This is a little bit after when Chris left the race, or left the group last year to get on the front of the bike, and Chris swam with those athletes. So Kienle is absolutely crushing it right now. And there's a little incentive for the preem. He's going to get $2,500 if he gets to the top of that hill first, but he wants to be world champion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny to hear you talk about cycling strategy, because as a marathoner, it's no different. When you're coming up on a guy, you want to compose yourself. You want to do one of two things. It's either compose yourself, keep your distance, and then when you do make the move, make it definitive. Because if you can beat him physically, if you can beat him mentally and blow by him, and they think there's no way I can roll with this guy, then you don't have to beat him physically. And that's the thing. Or you can come up and get in their head and just go right on them. And something you can't do on the bike. But the strategy is totally the same. It's when you make your move, make a definitive move.
Yeah, and what happens, I mean, obviously Sebastian is right now, he's riding stronger, and he's a stronger cyclist than most of these athletes that are out here. But what you don't get in running is there is a little bit of technique that people don't understand, and the smoothness. So, we often talk about power and how much watts you can put out, but it's how fast you can go.
Right.
It doesn't matter what your watts are, it's how fast you can go. So Sebastian could have timed that at a time where they just came over an uphill and they're heading it downhill, and you use the course and you use your advantage as a smooth cyclist with high RPMs and good pedal stroke to be able to move past that field. So he's using obviously power, but he's using technique and just flow of the course to get by, and he's passed those athletes in a very, very fast section, and now they're on one of the bigger climbs on the course on the way back, and look at this gap. I mean, he passed on a flat, now they're on a climb, and if you look at that distance equates to probably 20 seconds already, and he passed 3 minutes ago?
Yeah, massive gap, and that aerial view really gave us some perspective there. How much of a lead does he need going into the run?
That's the thing, and Kienle is, for some reason, he's underrated maybe, or not given credit for how great of a runner he is. He's run 1:14s fairly frequently on tough, hot courses. So I would say for him to win this race, he has to have 3 minutes.
On Crowley.
And he has to run a very good run for him with that 3 minute lead. If he has 5 minutes, he can run maybe not so fast, but I think at the limit, he needs 3 minutes.
Now, does Raylert, being in the penalty box, as it were, does he get any of these updates at all? Or is he kind of sitting in there deaf and blind?
The idea with the penalty tent is that there is no advantage whatsoever for being in there, right?
So he doesn't know what's going on course.
He does not know what's going on course. At this point, he just knows that the race is moving away from him. And I would expect Michael Raylert probably pull the pin at this point, because talking to him in the last few days, he'd rather get 10th here and win Kona. Kona is definitely, we wouldn't think that, we wouldn't assume that, but Kona seems to be where his emotion lies and where he wants to do better of the two races, and that's where his training's gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled out. But interesting asking about, getting splits. Like, you can't even, there might be an official in there with a Frappuccino and a box full of waters. You cannot touch anything in there.
Wow.
Because that would be seen as an extra aid station or an
Yeah, of
advantage for
course.
someone that's supposed to be serving
As
a
it should
penalty.
be,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. But these athletes absolutely crushing it out here today. Kienle making a lot of people eat their words. But who are the other athletes